All right. Well, that was beautiful. That was wonderful. And I see that we've got more hellos in the chat. Hi, Danny Walls. Hello, hello. And then I see Kiwams and Grand Old Man. Hello. I wanted to catch up on hellos in the chat. That was awesome. Ivana's saying that was awesome. I really was. Manfred is amazing. So I'd like to welcome to the stage my next guest, who is amazing and awesome, Babatunde. It was like a very delayed drum roll. Hey, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine. Hello, Alyssa.
Oh, it's so good to see you. So, can you give the audience a bit of an introduction on who you are?
Hello, everyone. My name is Babatunde Lamidi, and I am a front-end engineer. I live in Lagos, Nigeria. I have been working with Angular for 3 years. I love Angular. I love it a lot. Yeah. So I will be doing a live coding using Angular. So we'll be building an application, actually a booking application. So for this booking application, we'll be carrying out all of the CRUD activities on it. And so we're going to create, we're going to read, we're going to update, we're going to delete. So basically, with this application, if you are a beginner to Angular, you should get ready, you should get yourself started with this particular application because it pretty much covers everything from beginning to intermediate and yeah. So you should be good with it as well. So the
Awesome.
application is called the booking application, like I said before. We'll be touching services, we'll be touching structured derivatives, we'll be using Tailwind CSS for it. And yeah, cool stuff. It's going to be exciting.
Awesome. Awesome. Yay. Well, if you are ready to share your screen, I can plop it up. And someone was saying that switching off your fan might help since there's background noise, but whatever you think is best, we will continue with the show. But yes, there is a share screen button at the bottom, and I will plop that up whenever you share. All right, you are live. So whenever you would like, we see StreamYard right now, but we see your stream, we see your face, and we are good to go.
Right. Once again, welcome everyone for joining. Thank you, Alyssa, for this opportunity. I'm thankful. So we will be building a booking application, like I said before. So we'll be using Angular. First off, you might want to have a little bit of understanding about front-end engineering or front-end development. So the question people always ask is, what is Angular? Angular is a front-end framework for building enterprise application in HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and TypeScript. So TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript. So before delving into Angular, you might want to, Alicia, please, if you can't hear me at any point in time, just let me know. Right. So before delving into Angular, you might want to get a grasp of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, just the basics, to get you up and running. Once you're done with that, once you have a grasp of front end of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, then you can decide to pick any framework of your choice. Of course, there are different front end frameworks now around. We have um, React, Vue, and Angular. You'll be using Angular today. All right. So to get yourself started with Angular, you just want to install Angular on your PC. But before that, you need to install Node. I already have Node on my PC. If I do Node version, I think I version. So I already have Node, but I have version 14. Um, when you install Node, Node comes with npm. So you might want to you can use npm, you can use yarn, but I prefer npm. Right. So after that, if you're using a Mac, you might want to do sudo npm install right dash g at Angular. So it's CLI. Right. So I already have this installed. Right. So if you don't have it installed, then you can install that. Okay. To check if you have Angular installed on your PC, you just want to do ng that version.
Babatunde, will you try one more thing for me? Will you try actually switching to computer audio. I just want to see if that clears it up a little bit. We're still getting comments about not being able to hear so well. Oh no, so not in your system preferences, inside of StreamYard.
All right. Are we good to go? Can you
We
guys
are
hear me
good to
now?
go. Yeah, we can hear
Awesome.
you, and let's go
Sorry
back
about
to the
that,
terminal
guys.
and do it. No worries.
Okay, so I was saying that to check if you have Node installed, you just do Node that version, um, and then it shows you if you have Node installed on your PC or not. All right, so I already have Angular installed on my PC, and I'm just going to go ahead and create a new Angular application. Right. So, um, why Angular? Why not React? Why not Vue? Of course, I know Vue. I use Vue.js, but the question is why Angular? There's so much benefits, so many benefits in Angular that you might want to look into, and that would be one of the benefits would be creating enterprise application. Angular follows a software design pattern which is called MVC. The MVC simply means model view controller. So you have your model, you have your view and templates, and you have the controller in the component.ts file. Right. So what that simply means is Angular helps to separate your concerns. So it's called separation of concerns. All right. So you have your model, your logic, your model, and then you have your component.ts for the logic, and then you have um, your view, which is your template. All right. So with these, you are rest assured to build a well-structured application. And that's one of the reasons why I like Angular, because it helps to structure your application, your code base. And as your code gets bigger and bigger, you need a way to able to navigate easily without having to have issues and all that. All right. So one of the reasons why you might want to delve into Angular. Another reason is dependency injection. All right, so as we build this CRUD app, I will be creating a service and then injecting that service into a component, and it's all going to be fun and exciting. So enough of my talk. Let's get into the code. I'm just going to create. Oh, not now. Okay, I'm just going to create
I know,
a
right?
new.
Everything always does that. When I'm on stream, it'll be like, "Hey, do you want to do this thing?" And I'm like, "I've never wanted to do that thing. Don't talk to me."
We're going to create a new application, and we're going to call this accepts. So to create a new application on Angular, you want to use the CLI command, which is ng new bookatut, and then we create enter. Wait, enter. Yes, it's going to ask you, would you like to add Angular routing? Yes, please. And we'll be using SCSS, and you can use CSS if you want. Let's go with CSS. Yeah. All right, it's going to take a while for it to complete installing. It should be done any second from now. So basically, once we are done with this, I'm going to show you the Angular the Angular environment, right? So from there, we're going to kick off and start building
And
our application.
what's your go-to? Do you use Sublime or VS Code, or what do you what's your main IDE of choice?
So my favorite IDE right now, it's VS Code. Used to be
Mm.
Sublime before, but I mean, I use VS Code now. You can use
I for
any
the
you can use
longest
any idea
time
of your
used
choice. It's fine.
Yeah, for the longest time I used Atom, but then when TypeScript became like the way to go with Angular, I was like, all right, I'll take the plunge. I will use VS Code. Mm.
VS Code is actually very nice. It's intuitive. It comes with lots of extensions and all that that you can use to you know
Mm.
start your application and get things up and running easily and faster quickly. So our Angular is installing the packages,
Mm.
right? So we're gonna get this up and running now anytime soon.
So, Babatunde, I didn't get to ask you at the beginning of the stream. It's something I like to ask people as an icebreaker. Can you tell everybody where you're joining us from and what time it is for you?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Yeah, no, I usually like to ask people while we're waiting, as an
Yeah,
icebreaker to
yeah.
tell what time it is and where they're joining us from in the world. So, for me, it's 11 a.m., but what time is it for you?
It's 5:12
5:12.
p.m.
Okay.
7 7 is past 5. 7 is past 5. Sorry. Okay. Um, this is taking a long time.
No worries.
So,
Thank you for coming on to do this. I am so excited to make just to be making content for beginners to join the Angular world. It's something I'm super passionate about, and I don't know. There's so many things that you're like, wait, what? Whenever you're getting started with something new, so I think anytime we can make more content for it, I'm really excited about it. And if you're just now joining, hello, welcome. Let us know where you're joining from, what time it is for you. It is, like I said, 11 a.m. here. I'm in the middle of the States, and it is nighttime for Babatunde. It's 5 something there, 5:14 there. So, and he is going to walk us through creating just a starter application with Angular and do some CRUD, create, read, update, delete. If you're not familiar with that term, there's so many times where I take for granted like the buzzwords that we use. And for beginners, like it's best if you can just everything absolutely like no acronyms, right? Like, so he's going to be walking us through doing things like creating and reading, updating, and deleting different things inside of an Angular application. So we're going to look at its architecture soon. Right now, it's installing the packages. But yes, I am super, super excited. Oh, did it fail? What did it say? Oh, is that something else? Did it finish? What did it
yeah,
say?
let me see. It's failed actually. I think we can cd into it. Okay, hopefully it works. Okay, all right. So we have our application here. Um, so I think we need to install the nodes packages. We didn't install, so let's do npm I.
So, those of you who are new to the JavaScript world, once you've generated your application, I'm actually learning C# right now and some things in the .NET community. And so things are a little bit different as far as like when you build things, because at least from like a .NET perspective, when you build, it kind of does this automatically. But from an Angular app, you need to go ahead and install, so npm I or npm install everything, all the dependencies for your application, and then you do the run command to go ahead and start your application so you can see it. So it's a two-step process where I think in some other languages it's one or maybe more. So, but yes, that is what he's doing right now after generating the new application.
Yeah. So we are all good. We're all set. So we have our ID here, VS Code, right? And we have our node modules, and we have can okay. We have our node modules, and we have our source folder. Our source folder contains the app folder, the assets folder. Basically, the assets is where you keep all of your images, SVGs, and all that. And then we have the environment for your configuration, either the dev environment or the production environment. So let me take this off. Right. And then we have the index.html file. Um, Basically, the index.html file contains the root of the application itself. Okay. So right here, we're just going to change this to Booker. Let's say Booker tutorial. Okay. And we have our root here. And right here in the app folder, we have the root app folder, the root files. So we have HTML, app.html, app routing.module.cs, and we have the component.css, and we have the HTML, and we have our file for testing. All right, and then we have a module here. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we are going to create a folder called components right here. So I'm just going to right click on this and open in terminal. Okay, so I'm going to create the way we create a folder. The way we create a component in Angular is to use the ng command, which is the CLI command, ngc, ng the command, then G is for generate, C is for component, right? So that's how you create a component. So we're going to do components. First off, let me create the folder here. I'm going to call this components. All right. Then inside here, okay, not there. Okay, just it's our header components. We're going to create a header component inside of our components folder here. Okay. So to do that, I'm going to open in terminal and do ngc header.
And so can you tell
So
us a little bit
we have
about
our
what
first component, header component, and you can see we have the CSS file, and we have the HTML file, and then we have the test file. All right. So this is going to help us, so we have a header, and the way we want to structure the application is we're going to have a header, and that header is going to cut across all of our application, right? So when we are creating a new book, we still have that same, we're going to maintain that same header. When we are updating a new book, we're still going to have that header. The reason we are doing this is because, Angular is a single page application, right? So it's like having all of your pages at first glance, right? So I already have a template header that I'm going to use here. I'm just going to copy that because of our time. Okay, I'm going to copy that. Control A, Control C. It's okay. So let's run this application. So first of all, you need to go to our package.json. So our package.json, since I'm going to run this on another port. So I'm going to do dash port. Let's do 1990, and I'm going to run this. So the way we run this application, this script here, we do npm run starts. So it's running currently, and when it's done, it's going to be displayed on this particular port 1990. Okay, so let's look at what we have here. Running.
And I asked earlier, you did the ng command for generating that component, and you
Yes,
used the
this.
shortcuts. So I wanted you to talk about, okay, yeah, right there, where it says the long form of ng generate component. So you can use the shortcuts or you can spell it out.
Yes, you can do ng generate component, then the name of the component. So for short, we do ng c, then the name of the component. So if you want to create a service, you do ng generate s for service, then the name of the service. Right. So I'm going to close this. Okay. So we have our header. First off, we need to install Tailwind CSS. Okay, to do that, we need to do, we're going to use a schematic ng add neat Tailwind
CSS. Okay, so we're going to install Tailwind. It says not found. What's the command? Let me quickly look that up. I have the command somewhere in my live stream. Okay. Add nginx / Tailwind. Okay.
Yeah, I found an article that said nginx at nginx. I see.
Yes. Nginx. Yes. Tailwind CSS. Okay. So
So I think press the up arrows, try the exact command that you did, but instead of Tailwind CSS, just Tailwind. Yeah, try that. And then it should prompt you maybe for what version you want.
yes.
Oh, just did it. Perfect.
Yes.
Would you like to proceed? Awesome. Yay. So I don't have much experience with Tailwind. I'm excited to see like I didn't even know how to include it in a project. So are you a huge Tailwind fan? I hear there's a bunch of buzz about it right now.
Well, I only started using Tailwind CSS recently, right? So I'm more of like a bootstrap kind of person.
Mm.
So, but Tailwind is good. So the essence of using Tailwind basically is to help folks that want to start an Angular application using Tailwind CSS. I don't know how to install it or use it. So that's
Right.
the idea of using Tailwind and Angular, and to let people know that it's supported also. Tailwind is also supported. Um, also supports Angular, but it's
I
not
think that
like
was this
actually
latest
started on the
version, right?
documentation.
'Cause it was like Angular
Yes.
version 12, I think, that they came out with Tailwind support. So that was pretty new,
Yeah.
pretty recently.
Yeah. Okay. So while that is going on, we still need to create our components. The first component we created, the header component, which is right here. We still need to create other components like where we're going to read our books. So we need a component where we're going to read our books, and also we need a component where we're going to add a book, and also we need a component to update a book. All right. So the best thing to do is to create. Okay, we already have a component header. The reason why we have this header here is because we want to reuse this header component across all components. Okay, so I'm going to come here and install, generate a new component. I'm going to call this books. So the G stands for generate component books. So we have the books component here. I'm still going to create another component. I'm going to call this add book, ng, see add book. All right. So we still need to create another component, ngc update book. Okay. All right. So we have our add book component, we had our update book component, and we have the books component where we're going to view all of the books that we've added so far. Okay. So let's go to our app.routing.module. So what we want to do here is we want to create links for the components that we just created. Okay, so what I want to do now is so how you create a route is you use your curly braces and then you do paths. Okay, so we want our landing page to contain all of the books. Okay, so we're going to do empty paths, and then we're going to specify the name of the component, which is going to contain all of the books that we have in the application. So to do that, we need to call the books. So we need to write components. All right. Then we need to call the books components. Okay. So we have that. We also need to create another route, and that is for our add book. So we just do the same thing, parts, right? And we call this update book. Right. But to update a book, we need the ID of that book we want to update. Okay, so the way Angular does it is once you have the part, then you do slash, then column, then we do ID. Okay, then the name of the components, which is update book components. All right, so we need to create another link again for to add a book. So we do add book. Okay, then component. The name of the component is, I guess it's right, add book component. I think we need this here. Okay, looks good. Okay. So one more thing that we need to install is we need some sort of like a fake API endpoint, right? So to use that, we want to be able to create, delete, update, and read our books, right, on our application. So we need some sort of like an API endpoint for it. But since we don't have API endpoints, we're going to use a library called JSON server. We're going to install JSON server, and then once we install that, then we can now create our routes, sort of like a fake API, right? So I have that somewhere here. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this. Going to create something new and just paste this right here. npm generator. Okay. Okay, we have an error. It says API JSON server. Let's quickly go and say npm JSON server. All right, so that's Ctrl V, then install. Okay. So once we have that installed, we need to create some sort of like an object that we want to display first on our application. All right. So I'm going to go over here what that is installing. I'm going to go over here to the app component.html. You can see we have all of this pre-installed for us. Right, so we have all that installed for us. So we're going to remove all of this. Okay, so I'm going to do Ctrl A to remove, and if we go back here, you can see it's all empty. That's nice. And so what we want to do here is we want to call the header, which is the component that we built, right? And we also want to map out our application, how it's going to look like. So like I said before, we're going to have the header, and then every other component comes after the header. Okay, so we need to go to our header components, and this is where it is. So app header, that is the name of the selector right here. So in our app component.html, we're going to do app header, and we do this. Okay, so let's see what's okay. Right, so we need to npm run start again. Our styles are not coming in. Okay, so yes, okay. Generate. Okay. All right, so let's look at it again. Okay, nice. So we have our
Hey, you got the header. Whoop, whoop.
So we can see this particular header here just popping up. We need to remove that. So let's go find out where
So
it's coming from.
is that what a Tailwind header looks like by default? Like, is that what that style is?
No, this. So let's look at the other
That
components.
might be a dumb
Right.
question. Sorry, I'm really new to Tailwind, so I'm like, maybe that's Tailwind. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. So this is the header, right? Um, you can do whatever it is with it. Okay. So this basically just comes pre-installed. I took this off on the internet. Right. So we have the background color 800. So which if this is it, yeah. And we have our styles and everything is inline.
Mm,
And so one of the reasons why I don't really like Tailwind, it's because of all the styles. It makes everything so clunky, and you have so much
mm.
bunch of styles everywhere, right? Sometimes it gets so confusing and all that. But then again,
Yeah,
uh, if
they
you want to build
someone
an
in chat
application,
was saying that Tailwind is great when you don't want to write a lot of CSS, but I see what
exactly,
you mean about the classes being lengthy and bulky.
yeah,
It's just a different way. I think it's like a different paradigm because I've seen
yeah,
like people like fight on both sides of the how you should style, how you should architect your applications. And so it's funny to see people are very passionate about their CSS, whether it should be this way or that way. So
yeah,
but I we are almost at time because I know we're running over on each session. So I
yeah.
didn't know if you had anything else that you wanted to. I know we won't have time to get to the all the CRUD application stuff, but this was such a neat primer for like creating your first Angular app, how to even include um, Tailwind or something similar to Tailwind with our schematics. And then, like, of course, when you do generate, it's always difficult. Like when you first create an application, you're like, now what? So you've shown us how to like get started and create a new component, get it installed. Is there anything else that you wanted to show quickly before we hop to our next speaker?
Okay. It's a shame that we can't complete all of this, but then again, so one of the beauty of using Angular is the fact that you get to use hard your services. So basically, the reason for services is to increase modularity and reusability, right? So if I were to come over here and create a service for this particular books component, it's advisable that in your books component, just add your service here. So what I, for example, now, if I say, if I come here, open in integrated terminal, I can do a ng service or ngs and put um, books, right? So it's going to create the service inside this books component, right? So you have, so for example now, so if someone wants to look at your application, okay, there's a booking component, everything that person needs to get, started with when it comes to the books component, everything is here. So it doesn't need to go elsewhere to look for the services and all that. Everything is inside this particular folder called books. And books component. All right. And if you want to use the service, use a paradigm called dependency injection to inject the service into your component. So you're saying that the component is saying that, okay, I don't want to create this function or methods by myself. I'm going to depend on an external dependency to provide me with all the things that I need to get started with. And so to get that, you inject the services into the components, and from there you have access to all of the methods. But first you need to instantiate it in the constructor and all that, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that
Very cool.
that's
Thank you so much, Babatunde. This was so cool. And honestly, I love that shout out because that's one of the perks I hear about, why use Angular over some of the other frameworks out there. And dependency injection is on top of that list. And so if you're new to Angular and you want to get started and really understand it, I think that's a great place to start beyond the basics. So thank you so much for this. Is there anything that you'd like to shout out? We have your Twitter handle here on stage. So follow Babatunde on Twitter, and anything else before we welcome
So
our
I'm
next
going to
speaker?
push the complete repo, the complete project to a repo at Babatunde LMD on GitHub. So if you want to look at it, just get started with it like a starter for CRUD. You can just
Mm.
fork it and do anything you want to do with it. Yeah. So
Beautiful.
I'm going to push that to the repo. You can just search for Babatunde LMD on GitHub and you have it right there.
Perfect. Thank you so much for doing that. And thank you for coming on the show today. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Well,
Sorry we
have a
couldn't finish it,
wonderful
but
day.
so much.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah, yes,
It's been, we've been running over a little bit on each show. So
yes.
thank you so much,
No
Babatunde.
problem.
That was amazing. I'm really, really grateful for this opportunity to bring on speakers from around the world to just try and create some beginner content to help ease people into this wonderful community and framework called Angular. So I'm super, super grateful.